DJ Delz. What's good? Brand new episode here at the Delz show in honor of Nas's classic illMATIC. 20 years of illMATIC. illMATIC released 20 years ago. Oh my god, I feel old as hell. But I gotta celebrate such a classic album. And I have this box set that I got. And I never reviewed it. I think I may have took a few snapshots and posted it on Instagram. I may not have even done that. I'm gonna do that in a minute after I'm done filming. But I wanted to do an episode just honoring such a classic album. This album to me was like the soundtrack to my high school years. Like, man, I used to listen to this maybe even middle school, like just early high school. This is what I listened to day and night. This album would just play over and over again. And I just wanted to do an episode in honor of Nas illMATIC. This is a box set I got. Open it up. See the artwork right there. You see it says gold edition, limited to 2,000 pieces. You take this cover off. You got this nice wood grain case. And then you've got illMATIC right there in a gold disc. Get up closer, you can see it. And then it says right there, illMATIC. This album basically, to me, is one of the greatest albums ever in hip-hop history. Just gonna put a few of the images here while I speak. When I first heard Nas, it was on a mixtape. I'm from New York, and mixtapes in the early 90s to the late 90s to 2000, mixtapes is what really got an artist known in the streets and in the underground. Even if you weren't from the streets, just in the underground. If you were in the underground scene, you loved underground hip-hop. And Nas, you'd hear him on Stretch Armstrong, Bobito, you'd hear him on mixtapes, and then finally this album came out and it just blew everyone's minds. Like the lyrics on this album was so out of control. The thing that was so amazing about this album was that a lot of us could relate to the album, being young teenagers. Hip-hop back then, the rappers were talking about, sometimes glamorous stuff, but the glamour they were talking about was nothing like today in 2014. People talking about waking up in Bugattis, like things that just aren't realistic compared to, back then. They were talking about gold chains, you know what I'm saying? Driving a Benz, wearing Jordans, like stuff that you could actually get, you know what I mean, if you got your money up, It wasn't like today, like, you got to get a lot of money up to get a Bugatti, you know what I mean? Like, even the clothes, like, now you hear Versace. Like, he would mention clothes like Guess, you know what I mean? Like, gear that people could actually afford versus now, People could relate to hip-hop more back when this album released versus that music now, you know what I mean? Like, everything that he talked about, a lot of me and my friends could relate to, totally relate to. He probably was like 4 or 5 years older than us, but we could totally relate to what he was saying. We'd listen to his stuff, to him talking about, rolling two Phillies together in the bridge. We call them ooh-wops. Like, we were doing that too over here in the 914. Like, that's just like things like he was talking about. We can relate to. Like, he was speaking to the youth, put out a lot of hot music, and it was music that was relevant, Life's a Bitch with AZ was just insane. He had so many great songs. New York State of Mind, The World Is Yours, that and the remix was amazing. I mean, amazing. The remix was sick to that one. Memory Lane, One Love was dope too, man. He was writing the letter to Cormega, like, just so real, because he used to rock with Mega, man. Like, I used to listen to this album over and over and over again, and every song was just classic. There's no song that's weak. Halftime was such a dope ass record. Even One Time for Your Mind was dope, which felt like kind of like a freestyle, and it was just so raw. Like, love that joint, man. Represent, whew, when Represent came on and you heard that beat just come in, as soon as you hear the beat come in, that song is so gully, like, and the lyrics are just so real. Like, Nas just flows. Nas is the best, man. Nas is the greatest. And also, like, It Ain't Hard to Tell was amazing. That song is amazing. Even the remix is crazy. They came out with a new version that released today, and it has a bunch of remixes, which I've heard all of them. I have a lot of them on 12-inch because I DJ, and back in the days we used records. Now it's Serato, but back then it was records, and I always knew people that DJ that were older than me. That's how I got into DJing, so a lot of them hooked me up with records back then. Like, I have almost all of Nas's 12-inch records, like craziness. Like, I have like everything. Back then hip-hop was more of a culture, I think, versus now. I definitely just wanted to just do a quick episode, just sharing this collection piece that I have right here in this booklet right here. It has a bunch of images, like that famous image right there, and then in the memory of all of his boys that passed away, including Ill Will, and let's see, listing all the songs. The picture right there. Shout out to everyone in Queens. Shout out to my homeboy Imam Thug too. What up, Imam Thug? Man, see, this is the 12-inch I was telling you about. That's the front, the back to One Love. I have that. There's the back to The World Is Yours. The remix on The World Is Yours is so sick. I think the remix is just as good as the original. And then here's some more images right here of Nas, young Nas. Look, this is the lyrics to One Love right here, as you can see. That's crazy. And it has the lyrics to all the songs, which is dope, man. The intro to the album where you have Nas, AZ, and Jungle talking. Man, this album is so classic. Has a listing of all the producers and their thoughts on the album. MC Search talks about Nas, who basically was responsible for Nas, and he was the executive producer of the album. Large Professor talks on here, DJ Premier. This is an amazing box set that I got, and I just wanted to share this with you guys because I always wanted to shoot this, and I just kept pushing it back, and I figured, you know what, let me do this right now. There's no better time than right now to do this. So shout out to Nas for putting out an amazing album that's timeless. I mean, this is 20 years old, and this album bodies anything out right now. It's just because of the straight up fact that this is just pure hip-hop. Like, I put money on it. Like, when he put out this album, his main focus wasn't to be rich. He wanted to just put out an album and just represent him and Queens and him being the nicest out. Like, that's what hip-hop used to be about, but it's just so commercial now. You know, as I was saying, like, people are rapping about, I woke up in a Bugatti. Like, how are people able to relate to that? You know what I mean? Some will say, oh, it's inspiration. It's inspiration. Like, come on, man. Like, are you serious right now? Like, yeah, I love it. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I love all them party records and stuff like that. You know, party and bullshit. But this right here, this shit right here, man, this is just pure hip-hop, pure lyrics, amazing production, and just young dude from Queens just telling his story. And just doing it like so right in such an amazing way, man. I just wanted to do this episode. Make sure to hit the like button if you love this album, illMATIC, and make sure to check out more episodes here at the Delz Show. You may be checking out this sneak peek over at the Sneaker Addict Show. If you're watching on the Sneaker Addict Show, make sure to go to the Delz Show and check out all the material there. And if you like it, subscribe. I never try to force anyone to subscribe. I always say check out the material. If you like it, then sub. I want everyone to sub that really wants to watch the material. I'm definitely not trying to force feed anyone. Never have and never will. But shout out to Nas. Congratulations, 20 years, and you still got one of the illest albums ever.